Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Brandon Shank, and welcome to the Brandon Shank Podcast. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Brandon Shank Podcast. You know, I have a confession to make. I was sitting here thinking before we came on. I realized that on days where we have to shoot, I'm like, I shouldn't talk about that yet because that may come up later in a podcast. Whenever you're in the room, I was like, you know what?
Yeah.
That'd be funny. I shouldn't say anything.
Because you always surprise me.
Yeah, well, it was funny, and then I don't ever remember them. But I was sitting there thinking, like, and actually, I don't remember we were having a conversation yesterday or last week. I was like, man, we should just push record and just go. You know, There was a conversation actually last week. I told you to push record on.
Yeah, that's true.
There's other people in the room. Say, bro, just start it now. You know, I think this podcast, this is unedited. So people don't realize that this is not polished. It looks polished because it's shot with great cameras and all the gear, but this is recorded and sent. Like, there's no editing to this.
I don't do any post. I literally hit record. I do all the button pushing from my end.
They're like, what's it look like before we go on? I was working on my computer. Yeah. It's just me and you in here. Yeah. And I was like, you ready? Like, yep. All right, push play.
Yeah. And from my end, I know nothing. Absolutely nothing. So I'm along this ride with you as an audience member, and basically I feel like what I bring to the table is just knee-jerk reactions from anything that Brandon
you
brings.
are the table.
Yeah.
So hey, school's out for the summer. It's great for all of the kids. For the summer. I've been thinking of that exact song the entire morning.
Forever. Not quite,
beautiful.
But
I like it. I saw a sticker yesterday on a car. It said "Go home, tourists," and it was here in Virginia Beach. And the car had North Carolina license plates.
I'm
like, hold up.
That's what we call an oxymoron.
Yeah, I'm like, hold up. I get it that people from North Carolina think that they're locals, but you're not. You're from another state.
Yeah.
Now, we love you. We got a lot of people in Moyock. I mean, and they're great place, but you're not a local anymore. You're from another state. Yeah. I know it's local because you know where all the grocery stores are at. You know how to get to the beach. You know where the tourist park. I get all that. But if you're a Virginia Beach resident, you're a local. Yeah. If you're not a resident, then you could be a local of somewhere else, but a Virginia Beach resident is a Virginia Beach local.
It's kind of hard when you leave your home with that stickers. It's kind of hard. You got to leave that car at home if you're gonna.
You can't ride around here. I mean, I know like people from Chesapeake and Portsmouth and Norfolk. Like they're like, hey, we're all locals, and I would say, yeah, you are, but for sure. But it's when you're in Virginia Beach and you have a license plate for another state. Yeah. And you say go home tourists. Maybe they're from Outer Banks.
That's what I'm saying. I think
it just so happened, but it was just funny. Yeah,
very disgruntled. Outer Banks.
It just caught me weird.
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought it was funny. I know it's summertime because as I'm sitting here, my kids can't do anything. Like they have like the little iPods or iPads or whatever, and I'll get these little things. So-and-so wants to download this game because we have to approve everything. Yeah. So I'm sitting here, and I know it's summertime because they're blowing up my phone this morning. It says, Makai wants to download Camper Van Beach Resort.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Like, oh, that's cute. You know, you're like, oh, cute little fella wants the Camper Van.
Live his virtual reality vacation.
There's nothing wrong with that. So, hey, man, what's something this week that you would say, I'll give you a second, that lifted your spirit? Something like, man, that just made me feel good.
Wow. We had a Battle of the Beach tournament this past weekend in Lynn Haven. So the squad that my oldest Maddox, he's 10U, he's a part of. They came in second overall. They did great. They played really, really great, and particularly, obviously, I'm biased, but my son Maddox, he pitched in the championship game, did excellent, did the best I've ever seen him pitch. Was so accurate. I think he threw 79 pitches. He was 74% strikes. So I was keeping track, as any dad does.
I like the analytics,
and
I appreciate that.
I let him release the curveball for the first time. I can't remember if he threw 6 or 7, but everyone he pitched, he broke every kid's ankle. And I was just so proud dad moment, lifted my spirits. I felt really good, super proud of him.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
But mine has nothing to do with my children. I saw this video online where Lainey Wilson, country singer, was at Busch Stadium. I don't know how long ago this was. I don't know if it was recent, but I saw this video where this little girl was crying. A cute little girl. I don't know how old she was. I would guess maybe 5, 6.
Yeah.
Maybe 7, I don't know. But she was on her mom's shoulders, and she was crying there in the front row. And like Lainey Wilson, like told security to grab this little girl, and she brought her on stage, and like this little girl just gave her the sweetest hug. And Lainey Wilson gave her this hug, and then Lainey Wilson like signed her poster, and the little girl kept hugging her. She just kept hugging this little girl in the middle of her concert, just stopped it, and it was just the sweetest thing.
That's cool.
I was like, man, it's just sweet.
That's what it's about.
It is, man. When I see that little girl, she's just so cute and just hugging on this country star, and it's just like, I don't know. It's just like, man, I love it when people are grounded and they see like the people on the other side of the gate.
Yes.
You know? And I think that's really what life's about, you know? Like, are we seeing the people on the other side of the gate? Like, the world's quick to create celebrity status.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, man, when people know, like, I'm just a person. And that little girl, her life has changed. You're like, you might think, well, how's it changed? Just a celebrity because somebody she looked up to.
Yeah.
I mean, who knows what that'll do for her?
Yeah.
It's cool.
Oh, yeah.
She'll never forget that. The impact you get to make. The Rock, I've seen stuff he'll post all the time, and he'll be like, the best thing about being a celebrity or famous is that you get to help people. And I believe that because he does a lot for people.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. Hey, we're gonna go right. We're changing things up today. We're gonna go right to in the news. There's an article.
Sorry, that was really bad.
Was that an in the news intro?
Yeah.
That almost
see the
feels
world
like news
and
break.
the globe coming in, and the.
I know. Makes think of my grandma's house.
Like the news makes you think of your grandma.
Yeah. Or my parents.
Today.
Yeah. Like my parents and my grandma, they're like, they watch the news, you know, all the time. Me, never. I read my news. I pick what I want to read and then I close it up.
Yeah.
That's why this show is created. Because we tell you what you want to know, you don't even know it. We're giving you information on here, that stuff that we have scoured the internet. We've ripped apart the details and then took the details and boiled them and then took all the good stuff out of them, strained it, and then this is what you're getting.
Well, yeah, correction. You have.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. Hey, there's nothing wrong with that. We're all in this together. Somebody's got to be the scourer. Somebody's got to set up all the production equipment. Somebody has to make this thing happen.
Yeah.
I mean,
again, I'm the knee-jerk reaction. Whoops.
Nothing wrong with that. So I read this article and it made me feel claustrophobic.
Okay.
It was a Titanic tourist submersible.
Oh, I read about this.
5 people in that thing and it got lost.
Yeah, they don't know where they are.
No, sir. In a little tube.
And have you heard the other things
below the ocean?
That have come out? That it's like they did, like, I think it was CBS or something did some interview with these people, and they're like walking them through the submersible, and a lot of the parts are like, oh yeah, this is just like a light from Camper's World, and this is like, it's controlled by this video game controller, which is like some knockoff PlayStation 2 controller looking thing. And I'm like, they Jimmy rigged this submarine. Not to say there's not high tech stuff in it, but there's a lot of components in this interview before this thing went.
Is this the first time it's ever been down there?
I don't know. I like that deep, maybe. I don't know.
Well, what I do know is it went missing in North Atlantic while on a dive to the wreck of the Titanic. So for people who don't know, they went to go look around the Titanic, and one of the guys on the submarine, I think his company has the rights to the Titanic wreckage.
Yeah,
and 5 people on board. It had the capacity to be submerged for 96 hours, and it was unclear whenever they lost track of it. An hour and 45 minutes into its submersion on Sunday, it was unclear if it was still underwater or had surfaced and was unable to communicate.
Yeah.
And so they had to look on the surface and ocean depths of 13,000 feet. And whenever this article was written, I guess it was a day ago when I read it, it said there's only 40 hours of air left.
Yeah. So, that's
unbelievable.
With this submersible, so if it comes to the surface, once it's submerged, it goes underwater, it can't communicate with anybody because that's not essentially how it was built. So the only way it communicates is if it comes up. And once it comes up, it's connected to Elon Musk's Starlink. That's how they communicate. And so if it has come up, that communication hasn't worked. But more than that, so let's hypothetically say they surfaced and the communications don't work. There's no way for the 5 people inside this submersible to get out. It is bolted from the outside shut. So the only way for them to get out is if someone on the outside undoes all of the big gigantic lug bolts and lets them out. Yeah, right.
So if you run out of air and you're 13,000 feet below, if you open that thing up, you explode.
No. So I saw a video that says like, hey, like here's the options that we're dealing with here. Either they went down and the submarine had a link a leak, and it imploded. Basically, that's option number one. Option number two, they went in. It sounds like they wanted to explore the inside of the Titanic, so they went inside the Titanic and got stuck somewhere. So that's option number two, I guess. Option number three is they experienced some malfunction. The thing came up, wasn't able to send communication for some reason, and so you have these 5 people stuck in this submersible that are going to run out of oxygen at some point.
Which would be one of the worst
because
ways you can imagine.
We don't know where they are. Or option number 3, it's just...
I would take option number 1 if I had to pick, which all sounds
just
awful.
Imploded?
That's the best.
Yeah.
Because it's got to be quick, right?
Yeah,
You would think.
The pressure would, not only would this sounds so terrible to say, but not only would the submersible implode, you would implode.
But I'm saying that's better than suffocating.
Yes. I would
Or
believe
pulling
so.
a castaway, being up on top of the ocean. Just
I would
waiting.
imagine that's very instant. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, none of it sounds great.
No.
Man, it's tough.
It's devastating, really.
Well, I mean, and that's why, to their credit, like pioneers and people who discover, like they open up worlds that we would never have if they don't do these things. And unfortunately, there's a high risk. But it's people like this who have paved the way for so much of our technology that saved so many lives in the medical field, with flight, with space. People have really paved the way that are pioneers like this. And so that goes without saying. I mean, unfortunately, we hope that, in the time of this recording, they haven't yet found it, and there's a chance, but it's getting smaller.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I just looked it up because I knew it was a very small percentage, but more than 80% of our ocean is unmapped, unobserved, and unexplored.
Well, you know what makes me feel crazy? 13,000 feet. Can you imagine? I just can't imagine being in a submersible, not being able to get out and knowing you're going to die, and you can't do anything about it. Yeah. Like, what if they are just stuck? And you're like, back up, go forward, back up, go forward, back up, go forward. And you're doing that for hours and days. And you're thinking, we can't get out to move this thing.
Yeah.
There's nothing we can do to shift it. We have to pray that the good Lord above will shift the ocean floor to wiggle us out or do something. We can't get out. So even if there was a small chance in the depths of Hades that we could open this thing up and swim out and not die, there's not even that chance.
So what I think I saw that the search or whatever has until Friday.
Okay.
Like that's their time frame is Friday, I think.
Jeez. So can they get down? Is the search and rescue crews able to get down to the Titanic? Do we have that technology where it's like readily available?
It requires another submersible. Here's the tricky part is there's not very many of those submarines that can go that deep.
And 13,000 feet.
The resources are extremely limited to go even rescue these people that's unfortunately one of the risks that you take going that deep.
It's like if you get stuck, you're in trouble.
We can't rescue you.
And nobody. It's crazy. Makes me claustrophobic thinking about it.
Yeah. I've never had, as big as a guy, I've never had an issue with claustrophobia.
It's interesting.
Yeah,
it's a mental thing.
I almost kind of weirdly like it. That just got weird. I'm sorry.
Why do you like it?
I don't know. I remember growing up, my grandparents had a bit like one of those big RVs that you drive, but the places that you would sleep in were just these little tiny tubes almost. And I loved it. I loved sleeping. It's like my shoulder were touching each side, and it's like it's weird. You're in a coffin or something. But it's some of the best sleep ever. It's weird. I can't explain it, but I enjoyed it.
Okay. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I don't mind stuff like that. I mind stuff where, like, if they put me in a box, okay, so I'll tell you, I don't know how accurate this is, but I know that some of the training for pilots and special forces guys, they put you in a box in the middle of the desert, and they play noises of babies crying and stuff like that. But you're in a box and it's hot.
Yeah, that's psychological at that point.
But you're in a box.
Yeah,
and you can't stand up, you can't sit up, and it's hot.
Yeah.
And I couldn't. That would be the part that I would just be frustrated. Now, if I could scratch my nose, it's one thing. But and I could scratch my leg, it's one thing. But if I can't sit up, I could deal with that. But if I can't move my arms or if I'm pinned down, I'm gonna pull a kangaroo in a corner and I'm gonna go crazy.
I saw a video of a skier, and they're just free skiing down a mountain. Talk about the luck of this. So he's just free skiing down a mountain by himself. and he's going through some trees and stuff, and he just stops. Like, I don't know if he had an issue with his ski or something. He stops, and you see in the video, like, he's looking around, and where he stopped was the exact place that some other skier got buried in snow. And he's instantly digging this guy out, and he's digging like.
Does he have
feet.
a snowboard?
I think he is. I
saw that.
He's just digging and digging and digging and digging, and he gets this guy.
It's weird when he kind of uncovers the guy. Cause you're like, that looks so weird.
The guy's like face down, and he couldn't get out. But talk about the luck of that.
Oh my gosh!
Just stopping.
Only God.
And you're hearing this.
Only God. That's a needle in a haystack.
That's insane.
Only God can do that.
That guy's alive because some guy just decided to ski in that area and stop there.
The only way that happens is the Holy Spirit. Period.
I know.
You can you can say anything you want. Oh, it's happenstance. No, that doesn't just happen.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen.
God's like, you're not done yet.
Yeah. Get this guy out. He's face first.
Man.
Down in this big, and I mean, can you imagine the feeling of not being able to get out though?
Oh,
that would be unbelievable.
I mean, that's the claustrophobic. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So, switching gears a little bit here, before the pandemic, virtual church was kind of frowned upon. There were some churches like Elevation that had put like millions of dollars, and they were doing it for years before anybody else came out. But virtual church is kind of like, well, those are for people that don't really go to church.
It's not the same.
It's not the same. And now there's people who they go to virtual church that never went to church. And when we say virtual church, it means online, people watching YouTube or whatever. It's funny though, because for years people would watch TV. You'd have people that are, older that are shut-ins, especially, they'd watch TV, they'd watch televangelists, or they'd watch Sunday morning TV, and that was great. But then whenever the online hit, everybody's thinking, well, that's straight from Satan. It's like, what's the difference? Help me understand what the difference is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But there was a younger Christians are actually sticking with virtual church.
Yeah. And
there was 48% of U.S. adults ages 18 to 39 regularly engage in religious services online. 48%. That's staggering.
Yeah, that's a lot.
2/3 express a high satisfaction with their virtual experience, but they say there's still something missing from in-person services that haven't been fully replaced or replicated virtually. They also say the physical attendees, when they took this poll, expressed a stronger satisfaction with sermons and the music compared to virtual viewers. And they're saying that that's because the virtual viewers felt a weaker bond. And so 32% said that they were watching passively without participating, and 25% considered themselves active participants. Now, this could go a million different directions. I love virtual church because I think we should do everything we can to preach the gospel on every platform that is possible. Mm-hmm. During COVID, the church created more video during COVID than Hollywood.
Yeah,
and we produced more video than Hollywood did.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's one of those things where if you don't feel as engaged, it's probably because they're not with people. It has nothing to do with. I mean, there's a different environment when you're there, and our church, particularly Palms, the bass is hitting. It's different stuff. You feel the music, you feel the environment. It's electric, right?
Yeah, you can
get that through the internet. But when you're with people all around you, it does change that environment. And when you have before and after, I mean, you got your lobbies and you got people outside, you got kids cheering kids on as they go back to the kids wing, and just different environment. There's something for the kids. Your kid's not asking you to fill up their cup with milk or orange juice while you're trying to watch church. So it's a different environment.
Yeah.
Okay. So we know that. But I think it's interesting because I've had people say to me, well, what about those people who will watch online, but they won't come? And I'm like, okay, well, you don't provide that. They'll just watch somebody else online. Like, my job is not to get them in the door. My job is to give them something that they can get closer to Jesus with, and then let them work their faith out.
Yeah.
I don't think somebody's a less Christian because they're doing that. I think people are lonelier Christians when they do that, if that's all they have. And I think people are more shut out when they do that because they don't have, you can have community online, which is great, but there's something about physical community. Like, you don't want to marry somebody and then just, talk to them on Zoom. You want to be next to them in bed. You want to be touching them. You want to feel the warmth of their body. And I think that's what happens when you're in person, is you feel that. Now, I think online is powerful. God spoke to us and spoke to me directly and was like, hey, you're going to be an online church with a physical location, meaning we will reach more people with our online from here on out, probably for the rest of our existence, than we'll ever reach in a room. We've already seen that. That's probably already that way, right?
Yeah.
And so I think it's interesting how people will watch the NFL and they'll watch that on. How often this is the first year I've ever had season tickets to the Commanders, but it's like I've watched on TV for the last 20 years and probably been to 5 games. especially when I lived in Missouri.
Yeah.
And I felt connected. I felt like I was there. It's different when you're there for sure, but doesn't keep me from being involved when I'm not. And I think that's what I would say with people watching online is like, it shouldn't change whether or not you're involved. Like, you know?
Yeah. No, you need, I think you regardless of, you know, I've had moments and experiences where sitting and watching a message is just as powerful as being in the room. But I agree with you. Everyone needs to be plugged into a community. You know, you have to have people around you. You can't. Isolation that's tough.
You know what I think is even more powerful than that though is prayer.
Yeah.
You need people to pray over you. You need people you need to be in a community where people can pray for you. Now we offer that online.
Yeah.
People can pray and you say, I have a need. We'll call you. We'll get in touch. We'll make sure that we're praying over you. But when you have somebody anoint you with oil, put their hand on you and pray over you.
Yeah.
It's powerful moments. Those are spiritual moments. And I think that's what I was talking about this week is like, we don't understand it. The Holy Spirit, the difference, it's not whether or not you're attending or who you're connecting with. Community is great. And I agree with you 100%. But it's the spiritual dynamics that we're actually talking about. The struggles are not against flesh and blood, but against the principalities of darkness, right? And when you're really walking through dark stuff, you need to be somewhere where somebody can place their hands and pray on you and pray over you and pray over your life that can walk with you somewhere. And, you know, you can call somebody and say, hey, pray for me if I'm online, but you need to be, there's just such a spiritual element that can go through a screen. Absolutely.
Yeah.
The messages, the worship. But we need, the churches, we've got to do the spiritual things together. And that's where it's important. Can you have all that online? I think you can, but I'm saying it is a different experience when you tell your wife you love her and you blow her a kiss or you're touching her lips.
Yeah.
That's as intimate as I can make it, you know, because that's what it's like. There's an intimacy with being in the room when the Spirit is moving and somebody's praying over you.
Yeah.
And it's not that one is better than the other when you experience it, but it's not that one is more effective than the other.
Yeah.
I can kiss my wife on the lips or look at her online and blow her a kiss, and I know the love is the same. And I know the connection is the same. And I know that my heart yearns to be with her physically. But when you're there, the love is the same. It's just the experience is different.
Yeah.
Is that a
absolutely
sufficient way to,
I think,
put it?
You know, in my mind quickly goes to, you know, we're physical creatures, emotional creatures, and spiritual creatures. And I think when you can have all three of those at play at the same time, I do think it's a more powerful experience when you have all three.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, I wouldn't want to do church without it. I wouldn't, if we have a week where ours is down, I'm like, well, we'll figure it out. We got to get this up. You know, online is everything. It's my passion because you can be in India and open your phone up and watch Palms or watch something from the church. Like we're let God do what he does with it, but make sure it's out there. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Because I think, you know, we've talked about this too is, we need this online space to reach people. I think now it's, okay, how can we as the church create an online space where people can gather, but then how? Yeah. It's answering the question, how do we either encourage them or how do we resource them to a physical community?
Absolutely.
How do we do that as a church? And I think that's the next step that the church has to figure out. And I think that's when really we see this thing explode, honestly.
Yeah, because this is the future.
Yeah.
People, I got asked in a podcast, I guess it was last year, what is your outlook on the church when it comes to online? And I think churches that don't have a significant online presence probably got a 20-year window for sure, maybe less.
Yeah. Because
the generations are going to be watching. You have to be present online. That's your new front door. It's not your lobby. Everybody that comes to Palms, everybody has watched this online.
Yeah.
That's looking for a church. Now, some people are just invited and they come on a whim, but everybody says, oh, yeah, I've been watching you for weeks.
Oh, people are going to do the research.
Absolutely. They do it for everything else.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So let's take it back for a minute. I want to take it back to the 90s. I'm going to talk about all the things we experienced that our kids don't. All right?
Yeah.
There's just a couple here. There was a bunch that I saw, but these are the ones I really wanted to point out because I feel it's important for all of us that were raised in the 90s. We have a plethora of fine gifts in our life that we don't recognize, we don't need anymore, but they're still gifts.
Yeah.
Number one, how about covering a textbook with a brown paper bag?
And then drawing that little S symbol on it all over the place? That's what I'm talking about.
What's the S symbol?
You know, the 3 lines. You do the 3 lines, and then you connect them in the way that makes that like star shape.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah. I mean, that's a great example.
Yeah.
Color on them things.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I mean, it was the good old days.
I think every one of my books was brown paper. Yeah.
They should have been.
Yeah.
And like you could buy different kinds, but the brown paper was the
was
go-to.
was that just to like protect our books? Was that why? Because it was a requirement.
Yeah, you cover your
textbooks. I was like, it has a hard cover on
and it doesn't protect the binding whenever it's, you know what I'm saying? Like you look back, you're like, why do we do some of the things we had to do? That's one of them. But I think it was a great experience.
I feel like, in retrospect, now just all of the ink that I put on it just bled through onto the hardcover anyway. So I probably ruined it more than I protected it.
I know. And backpacks were heavy too, bro. They were heavy too.
They were very
different
heavy.
world. All right, how about this? How about you unknot a curly telephone?
Oh,
you remember that? You play with it while you're talking on the phone. You do a little spin.
The curly ones. Yeah, they're the best.
They really are.
That was kind of like the only ones. Was there phones
without the wireless started out in the late 90s.
Yeah.
When that happened, I felt like I gained independence. Yeah. When the wireless phone happened, I felt like that was the beginning of the pornography age. Because what happened is the wireless phones, you could talk in your room with nobody watching.
Yeah.
And then the internet kicked in. Yeah. It all went south from there.
That's true.
That was when things got dark.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
Yeah.
When technology kicked in, we didn't have the refrain.
Well,
right?
That's the extreme. Yeah. I mean, we all know that. What's the old adage where what you do in what's it say?
What you do in the dark, are we showing the light?
No, well, that's true too. What you do in moderation, someone else will do in
Yeah. So how many times did you see your brother or sister or somebody, they had the telephone, like you see the line all the way through the hallway to their bedroom. You feel me?
Ours didn't go that long.
Okay, but you understand what I'm saying.
I know what you're saying.
Like then when it came wireless, all bets were off. Right,
and
the internet kicked in. It just went south. We went dirty. We started to you didn't have to go to 7-Eleven to get your Playboy with the gray cover on it. You know what I'm saying? It just went dark. It's what it was. I was a kid in the 90s, and I know what that world was like. And I'm telling you, the refrain went off when the internet kicked in.
Yeah,
it went dark.
Yeah, so did this segment.
I'm just saying, it's just a reality of the situation. And I'm telling you, the thing that's funny about this, now that we're mentioning it, parenting with a 12-year-old that has a phone, it's different, man.
Yeah.
Like, I've got everything on lock where we know exactly, but we don't know exactly.
Yeah.
I've realized you can only know so much. They're smart. They're smarter than we are. Oh, and I'm good with technology, but not great.
Yeah.
And I'm saying this whole thing, I'm glad we're talking about the curly telephone because this whole thing about I'm like, dude, that was when the wireless kicked in. I had an older sister. She was in high school when I was in middle school. Things did go dark and you could get away with conversations you wouldn't normally have in the middle of your kitchen on the curly telephone.
Yeah.
Do you feel me?
Well, yeah, back in the day, someone else could pick up the other phone and listen to your conversation.
Yeah. A call waiting. You're like, why didn't you pick up the call? Like, what do you mean?
On the telephone, the internet just went down.
Call waiting. What do you mean call waiting? Like I didn't hear nothing. Your grandmother's tried to call 7 times. She's lying.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I ignored every one of them.
Yeah.
But then, like I said, the internet, and there was everybody had their internet in their basement corner where either there or in the middle of their living room. Like, oh, we don't need the internet. Just put it in the basement. Well, that's the worst thing you could do because there was no throttle. Well, my kids now have a phone. They can, you say, well, you come. Now I know everybody has all these rules, but kids have a phone.
Yeah.
They can find a corner somewhere someday. You see what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
And so it's honestly made me very vigilant with my boys and the stuff we put on them and being able to throttle it in the amount of time. It's just, and I know you can only do so much, but it actually, the whole curly telephone thing just really helped me have a dad moment right here live, right after Father's Day. So, hey, I'm glad that we can share this together. But it's a real thing. And honestly, with my boys, that's the number one fear is pornography. Number one.
Yeah.
Because it jacks a lot of people up, man.
Yeah.
I mean, it's dark, it's demonic, it tears apart so many good hearts and souls that I'm a vigilante.
Mm-hmm.
I know they've already been exposed to it, a lot of them, because technology, they have friends, technology's out there.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of conversations. They know a lot more at their ages than I knew when I was a senior in high school.
Yeah.
It's probably safe to say.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
You feel me?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, well, let's jump back into this. You ever had to karate chop the TV to fix it?
Hit the side of it? Yeah, for sure.
Just know you had to get it locked in.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're good.
Why does that work?
I don't know. It shouldn't. I think it was God moments. He just helped us out. He knew we were going to lose our temper, maybe. I don't know. You ever remember old phone numbers? Because that's something that people in the 90s can do. We remember phone numbers.
Yeah, I do remember some. Yeah, my old home phone numbers. Yeah.
Yeah, my 540-349-1149. DC, baby.
223-7882. Yeah.
540-347-9224. That was my wife's.
Nice.
I called that one more my own.
Yeah.
My girl.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I think that was the right one.
It's crazy all of a sudden. I know like my wife's phone number now, but I don't know anyone else's. My brain doesn't have space for that information anymore. Yeah.
It doesn't have to.
Yeah.
You ever set up a VCR and recorded a program?
Of course. Yeah.
So
over
funny.
top of old home videos. Whoops, my bad.
Yeah.
My dad did that with a football game one time. Oh.
Speaking of porn, it's funny you should mention this. So
goodness.
My grandma had satellite television.
Oh.
And she would send us VHS tapes. And that she would record, shows on HBO or like movies. This is the 90s, right?
Oh, goodness.
So she would send us movies. Well, me and my sister are sitting there with our babysitter, and I'm probably in 5th grade. My sister's, I think, in 7th. And we turn on this movie. I don't know, it was like Ninja Turtles or something. Something great from the 90s.
Like the live action one?
Yeah, something like that. And in the middle of it,
oh no!
porn starts.
Oh,
in the middle of the tape, and so I'm just like, "What in the world?" I have no idea.
Yeah,
my sister is losing her mind. Like, "Oh my gosh!" My babysitter, she had to feel like just the worst.
Yeah. Whoops.
Yeah.
I mean, this was from grandma though, right?
Yeah, I mean, grandma. Like, what's going on? But we told my grandma, like, in satellite back in the day, satellite television, you could be watching something wholesome, and you might get something that's not.
Yeah,
it wasn't. It wasn't
like
you
the rabbit ear stuff.
Yeah, it wasn't like you turned to ESPN. You're getting ESPN. You might get ESPN and then a little bit of that on. You don't know. Like it could just throw. And so it came in for like
the frequencies were blending. Yeah.
The frequencies were blending.
I mean, that's what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like a radio station. You got to tune to the right
frequencies.
That's what it was. Frequency.
I mean, but anyway, so this comes on. I'm like, oh my gosh. And so we tell my grandma. My grandma was so embarrassed. She was laughing, but it was like, what do you do? She was trying to help our grandkids. And then it came back to Turtles. But we're like, no, we got to throw this one out. But people don't understand that. If they're not in the 90s, they don't know. My kids don't think my kids are upset when we go to a hotel and they don't realize you just can't watch it on demand, anything you want. You got to wait for it to come on.
I love how your grandma was the original like Netflix password sharer.
Yeah,
that's what I love.
Oh, grandma,
she's like, oh, I got all the accounts. I'll hook you up.
Yeah, I'm probably being indicted right now. Grandma went hard, bro. She didn't mess around.
She's recording HBO movies on her VHS.
She was, man. We'd get a box of tapes in the mail. And it was all this stuff. Grandma was in the theaters doing it before everybody else.
Grandma's got the money. She can pay for it.
Grandma's in the theaters getting everything off the screen before the movies hit.
Hook us up, Grandma.
Yeah, man. Grandma went hard. Grandma, if you're listening, I love you and I appreciate you. You're an OG. She's a hustler, man.
Oh man! Everyone else's grandma sent them Focus on the Family movies, and you're getting.
I was getting Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and porn. It wasn't intentional, but man,
was a G-ma right there.
I do what?
That's an OG ma.
She's hardcore, bro. She's hardcore. She used to have one of those TVs that came out of like a. It looked like a dresser. It was, it looked like a big old box. Gotcha. And then she pushed a button and this TV would come out and everybody, no matter where you're at in the house, would just stop and stare.
She had the OG flat screen.
Yeah. Probably weighed 3,000 pounds.
We're just going to pretend this is a flat screen because I built it into the wall.
Exactly. Yeah. But yeah, Grandma went hard, man. So thank you, Grandma, for your love and your care and for being the first Netflix share.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, Grandma set the precedence. Have you ever recorded to tape from the radio?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I did. My first time I ever did that was one of the first times was Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. I wanted to learn the song, and so I knew it was coming on at 5:00, and I stood right beside the TV and I pushed play or I pushed record. This is a story all about how, and I learned the whole song from tape recorded off the television.
I love it.
It's a gift.
It is a gift.
We all had it, or how you like to fast forward, rewind. I gotta get that perfect song. Fast forward, fast forward, fast forward. Oh, I gotta flip the tape to the B side.
Oh yeah.
My kids don't even know how tapes work. I don't think.
Yeah.
Don't know how it works. Anyway, hey, final thought.
Oh, here we go.
Here's my final thought.
Hey, final thought. So mourners in Ecuador were gathered at a funeral for a retired nurse. And then she started banging on the coffin.
Oh. Oh.
The woman initially had a stroke and she died.
I heard about this.
And she didn't respond to the resuscitation in the hospital, so they took her to the funeral home from the hospital the same day. I'm guessing this is a part of the culture. You go from the hospital to the funeral home, you kind of have the wake and everything. But anyway, about 5 hours after the wake, into the wake, the coffin started to make sounds. They took her back to the hospital where she was in critical care for about a week. She passed away about a week later.
Okay, wait. So, let's rewind a second. You said she has a stroke. Is that what you said?
I believe that's what they said.
She had a stroke.
Yes. Yep.
How long from the moment she had a stroke until they put her in a coffin?
I'm not sure. What they said was they tried to resuscitate her. They didn't feel like it worked. There was no heartbeat, so they declared her dead.
Okay. Because my brain goes, yeah, how much time has passed from that moment to the coffin moment?
Well, she was in the coffin for 5 hours before she started making noise. So the whole situation, who knows? But, it could happen anywhere. It can happen anywhere. And I think we just have to give people a chance,
The dead are coming back to life.
The dead things are coming back to life. But she did pass away.
Oh, she did?
She did eventually pass away a week later after being in the hospital. But think about that. She was in a coffin and then went to critical care for a whole week in the hospital before she passed.
Holy cow.
So, that's legit. She gave it a run.
Yeah, wow.
My hat's off to her. Like, she gave it, you're in a coffin for 5 hours and then you go back in the hospital for a week. That's, talk about OG. That's,
holy cow.
Good for her, man. Obviously she's come to the stuff that she was going through, but that's a lot of respect.
Yeah, really.
That's pretty amazing for a human body to be able to do that. And I hate it for the family. I hate it for all the people who were part of that. That stinks, to be kind of mourning and then be like, oh, and then you have her hopes up again. And
that's
I think she was sick and she was going through some stuff before that. But hey, gotta give people a chance. You just never know,
Wow.
But I think with that being said, I want to say this. People have no idea what other people are actually going through. And so whenever people hurt you, they're already hurting. Whenever people say things to you that are going to hurt you, it's because they've had things said to them that are going to hurt them. When people have a certain way about them that you feel like is off-putting or a certain demeanor, you just never know. And I think we have to have some grace for where people are at. Have a ton of grace, more than you'd have for yourself. Think about others above yourself, in that concept, and know that people are innately good. They become evil whenever they feel like they have to protect themselves. Some of your hardened criminals, I've been into prisons to preach, and some of these people that are looked at as hardened criminals and gangsters, I would even say are the word sweet people, where they just haven't had a chance. They've not understood. They've not had the world that other people have lived in. They're good people. You know what I mean? And I know that term can't be used for everybody, but it's saying, they're all good people. But I'm saying everybody starts somewhere.
Yeah.
Evil exists, good exists, but give people a chance, man. Like, I think that's true for a lot of us in our life, man. We put people into this, for lack of better words, a box, and we say that's who they are, that's what they are. And there's things that God wants to do in their life, man. And we got to give people a chance. We got to give people a chance to be loved, to hear their story, to understand why they are the way they are. And it'll grow in every way who we are. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's good.
That's a crazy twist from a death in a coffin to that, but you get my point.
Hey, listen, I just realized this.
Let's hear it.
Almost every story we talked about had to do with people in some kind of box or container or something today. The submarine, me and my RV, claustrophobia.
It's true.
That's impressive.
Hey.
Kudos to you, man. That's
impressive. It wasn't intentional, but that's the way the Lord works.
You had a theme.
Yeah.
And it worked out really well.
It did work out. Hey, and hey, next week we won't have there's no podcast. The podcast is going on vacation next week.
It is.
But we'll be back July 5th with something fresh and new. So next week, yearn for us. Go listen to some old podcast episodes. We'll be live this weekend, 9 and 10:30 at Palms Church with a big announcement. Exciting announcement.
Yes.
And go and get your merch right here. Palms Church online, baby. BrandonShank.com. Got the dad hats or the young cats. We got the hustle sweatshirts, whatever you want. We got them all, man. It's going quick, so go get it.
Yeah.
But really excited about all that God is doing. Let me pray for you, Lord. I pray for each and every person listening to this. I pray they would know you hear them, you see them, you love them, that your hand is on them, that you will guide them, direct them, and you will help them in every step that they're taking as they look to you and as they yearn to hear your voice, that they will see that you see them and that you love them, that, God, they're not forgotten. And that, Lord, you're going to do things in our life that only you can as we rely solely on you and put you first in our life to help us make the most important decisions and to have peace that passes understanding. And everybody said, amen. Hey, we love you. So grateful to all you listening. We'll see you back here July 5th. This weekend, you can catch us live, Palms Church, 9 and 10:30. We love y'all. See you soon.